All right, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and up pot one of these trees here. And what we're potting is a sweet tamarind tree. What I have here in this tote on the bottom is just some peat moss, and I'm mixing with perlite. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of this piece of bag. The perlite and peat moss going to help keep the soil acidic, or more on the acidic side. Perlite will hold a bit of moisture. Also, I'm going to use Earthgro topsoil, which is mainly sand. It also will help keep the soil more on the acidic side. I'm going to mix this pretty well. Normally I will put the sand to the very bottom and just bring some up throughout the mixture. I'm also going to be planting another tree in this spot here once we're done putting the soil in that one for the tamarind. That's not like how that looks. May need a little more sand, a little more topsoil. Okay, as far as the compost, I don't think it's necessary for this tree, but I'm going to put some almost, well, not almost, we're going to put some right around the top and maybe a little bit right in the hole that the tree is going in. Actually, I'm going to leave this the way it is. Also, with this tamarind tree, I'm going to go ahead and add some granulated fertilizer down at the bottom where the roots are. And the fertilizer we're using is still the same one. We still have more of this bag here. I believe I have some in there for trees, but as small as this tree is, I think this will be fine. It's the Spoma plant tone. And I'm just going to use a couple handfuls. Now, I plan not to have to touch this tree anymore for a while. I could have put it in a larger pot because it does seem to grow its roots pretty fast. But I already have plans for the larger parts that I have here. So we're going to go with what we have. Now here on the bottom, right where the roots are, when we mix that in, we are going to put a small layer of compost. I'm going to set that there. That's just about perfect. And then we're just going to fill this in. I'm not sure of what the growth rate of this tree is. I've actually recently been introduced to this type of plant, this type of fruit. I do not mind the taste. I actually kind of like it. I haven't started doing any dishes with it. I just eat it raw. And of course, right now I'm just buying it from wherever we find it at. So we're just going to continue to fill this in. I'm really going to try. Oh my, I didn't think it would take that much. That's fine, we have more. I'm really going to try to get my plant game up on my trees. even though I don't have a large area to put them in the ground. But like I said, I do plan on possibly purchasing a property here over the next 2 to 3 years, and I want them to be ready to go when I do. All right, I like how that looks. Let me separate more pot. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna loosen up a few of these roots. I don't want to bother them too much because once we put it in here, these roots are gonna realize that they're free and they can go. But we're just gonna speed the process up by loosening this up just a little bit. So I like how that looks. Now we're gonna stick it down into its home. Yep. Now we're gonna water that in really, really well. A lot of times I would water that, let it sit before I actually put the plant in. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Yeah, just want to make sure that you get everything good and wet. That peat moss, it takes a bit for it to actually absorb the water. Well, now the way I'm doing it right now, we're gonna make sure that we don't have any air pockets down there by those roots. Well, see, this is what I was talking about, that peat moss. Here's a chunk here that's floating, not wet at all, even though it's laying in the water. It's actually a really nice looking tree. I pulled it up out of the ground, moving it a few days ago, where it rooted through the pot into the ground, and it's a little upset with me, but we're gonna make her happy again. So we're gonna keep this going. We're probably gonna do this 2 or 3 times, allowing this water to really saturate and soak up everything. Because I probably will not water this tree again uh, for uh, for probably 4 or 5 days, because it'll be good and wet for quite a while. Okay, well, I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, this is doing exactly what we wanted to do. You see that right there, that bubbling? That's that water making its way down. It's pushing out all the air. So under this tree right here, there will not be an air pocket. Doing exactly what I wanted to do. And if you look on the ground here, I can zoom in just a little bit. It's showing that the water. Oh, come on, pick it up. It's showing that the water has already made it to the very bottom. I'm having trouble just finding it on the ground, but that's okay. But that pot is not saturated, even though that water has made it all the way through the pot into the ground. Pot is, and that's why we're gonna do it another 2, 3 times of filling it up. Now you saw me add. Oh, actually, that's going pretty nicely. Yep, that's a little dry down there. I can feel the difference. Yeah, it's actually sucking on my hand here, and that's what I wanted for this plant when I put it in there. I want that suction to set this plant, not just put it in there and try to pack the dirt down around it. Because for me, that doesn't already always work. I've just about completely lost one of my most expensive trees, which I brought when I first started buying trees 3, 4 years ago, and that was a tangerine tree. Problem with it, I just never repotted. It was in a pretty large pot. I never took time to take a look at it and actually realized what it potted in. It was only living off the fertilizer. It was not living off the soil because it was really wasn't soil. It pretty much was potted in just wood clippings, wood chips. So now whenever I up pot a plant, I pretty much do it just like you just saw me do there. Figure out exactly what size I want it, figure out what the top of my plant is going to be, whether I'm going to add dirt up on the trunk or not. I don't always do it. Sometimes I do. Some people say don't, but this is what I do. And like I said, going back watering it in this way, then it really, really sit there and saturate it, really sucks it down. If I try to pull this out, it would actually take a little effort to pull that out. So all that, all the little air bubbles are coming out. So I know this is going to have good connection, contact to the soil. I expect this tree to bounce back in less than a week. These little bit of yellow leaves right here, that's just simply where we disturbed the roots. We got a little upset. Lost a little bit of the deep green that it was. Not quite as green as it was, but it's still a nice looking tree. And if you don't know, one of the benefits of eating tamarind is that it actually helps with your glucose levels. So if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic type 2, this might be something that you want to look into. I know it grows to be a rather large tree. I don't know how well I could prune this and keep it small, because with everything being in pots, I like to try to keep everything on the smaller side. But over the next couple of years, we're gonna try to see. Even when I take it out and put it in the ground, I don't know if I want to just let it go and do whatever it want to do, because I want to be able to harvest this easily. All right, well, I've shown you everything that we're gonna do with this tree. Well, almost everything. Only thing I'm gonna do now is go back and add some more of that fertilizer that I showed you on the very top. Just like I said, for probably the next year or two, depending on how fast it grows, I plan on doing nothing but adding some fertilizer to it every 3-4 months, and adding some water to it and watering it. So, but I thank you, and we'll see what's next. All right, everybody. I decided to bring you back so you take a look at what's been going on, what we've been doing here today. This was not my intentions for today, but this is what it turned out to be. So what you see here is that spent the rest of the afternoon up potting a lot of my plants. Here we have a soursop. Put it up in a larger pot. I have a small ice cream bean, a little larger ice cream bean, as well as a mamey. Now this mamey is less than a year old, and it's a seedling. Here's another mamey. You can see it's unhappy. It too is a seedling. Same matter of fact, they come from the same fruit. I actually had 3 seeds. All 3 seeds germinated. Now you may be wondering why I decided to go ahead and use time and effort on this mamey. I do not know if they come true to seed or not. And at this point, being that I'm new to this fruit, I don't care if it comes true to seed or not. Now, over the next year or so, as I get more familiar with the fruit and the different varieties of mamey, these may not be good enough. And if not, then I'll purchase what I want to purchase. But right now, these are going to be just fine. The way they're growing, I think they're going to fruit in the next year or two. The only reason the larger one here is the size it is, and it's probably close to 5 foot tall. It would be a little larger. I just haven't taken enough care of them, but it's done the best out of all of them. But what I really brought you back was because everything here has been potted up the same way. Uh, some of them are getting a little more topsoil, a little more sandy soil, so that the moisture wicks away a little quicker. Some of these more tropical type, like the Mame, got more peat moss, so that we can hold more moisture there. To me, they seem to like to be quite a bit more moist. So if it's a tropical, it comes from a wet area anyway. That's my logic. If I'm wrong, hit me down in the comments and let me know I'm wrong. But the main thing I really brought you back for right now is I'm up potting a star fruit. This star fruit is producing, and right here it has one fruit on it. Right here in this joint it has a couple of blooms coming out. It got put up against the house for the hurricane, and I'm just now moving it away. It was completely dry, and that's why it's a little upset. Um, but the main thing about what I'm doing with this is being that this is a producing tree. This tree is already producing fruit. I'm not going to try to stop it. These type of trees produce young, and they produce a lot. So what I have here is Virgo Organics plant food, and it's bone meal. Bone meal will help it set its blooms and its fruit. Now the reason I didn't put any bone meal in the other pots that you saw earlier, or any of them that I done off camera, is because none of those pots are producing. We're still probably years from any of those actually producing. But since this one's producing, I know it's going to produce heavy. I'm going to put a little more than I normally would in this this pot here. I am still setting the roots on this pot. So as you can see, what I'm doing is adding some of my soil mixture, which still is the same, except this has more topsoil as well than it does peat moss or either compost. I've already added down lower in the bucket here. I've already added some of the Espoma fertilizer, the real balanced fertilizer that I'm always using. And like I say, the only reason I'm actually adding this bone meal is because the tree is producing, and I'm going to allow it to go ahead and produce. Try to give it as much nutrition as I can, and allow it to go ahead and produce the way it wants to. Now on this bone meal, you may have noticed that the bone meal I put in looked like pellets, and that's what I use on my trees. Uh, it takes a little while longer to break down the extra nutrition that's in here already. Probably before that bone meal breaks down where the tree can use it, it's going to keep things going here. It's going to keep this tree good and happy. Now, unfortunately, this one was so dry that I disturbed the roots more than I wanted to. So that's why you see I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm not just letting this get down and bubble and kind of helping it make sure that it sets. Because like I say, I did have a bad experience. I killed one of my most expensive trees. Well, almost killed it. Left an air pocket under it. Uh, and I think the hurricane may have finished it off. It did start to rebloom after I cut it off. but I think the hurricane may have finished it. So we don't want to make that mistake again. So I'm just going to keep adding the soil and water in layers like this. And what it's going to do is really make sure that that tree sucks down. It's going to create a suction. And as I add the extra water, the pressure is going to wash this topsoil down and fill in any gaps, which it really wasn't that many. Yeah, I really did not plan to spend my day potting these trees. Because now I'm going to have to take them around there to that jungle. I don't, I don't trust leaving them out here by the road in the front. Even though my neighbors are really good, and I'm not concerned about my neighbors, but you never know who's coming through your neighborhood. We've been having a little extra foot traffic here lately, so I'm gonna make sure I get these to the back. That's gonna be a task. I'm gonna have some of my helpers to help me with that. These pots are gonna be a bit heavy because they're really gonna be wet all the way through. Time is running down on me. I have a couple more, one or two more trees I need to do today that are very unhappy. And tell you the truth, I put in a long day today. I'm just about had enough of potting these trees today. But make no mistake about it, though, it has been a good day. I'm satisfied with the amount of work that I got done today. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna have to stake this tree anymore. I don't like how that limb is going, so I am gonna end up tying this tree like this and make this limb go up a bit. I don't like it hanging out like that. Yeah, I'm gonna do something like that. I may end up air layering this right here and making a tree for my grandson. All right, everyone. I'm not going to bore you with it. It's going to be the same process. I'm going to water this in a couple more times, make sure that everything is good and moist. No more air bubbles coming up. Then I'm going to add a little bit more fertilizer to the top. I only fertilize these trees 2, maybe 3 times a year. And with this organic fertilizer, you have plenty of holes in the bottom. You have life coming up out of the ground. Trust me, if you have holes, if you have access for the life to come up out of the ground, you keep your stuff somewhat moist, you're going to have plenty of life in your pots. You'll be surprised at how many earthworms and little small bugs you see just crawling out when you go back and mess with the soil again. And that's what trying to do it organically really is all about. It's about the life, the nutrition. I'm not saying synthetic is not nutritious, but this is to me seems to be a more natural way, and I enjoy doing it this way. It may be a little easier if I just went down and got some of that good old fashioned Miracle Grow. Because before I learned about doing organically, that 666 and Miracle Grow, they were my best friends, as well as that 7 Dust for any bugs. But I do not have to poison my food like that anymore, because when you grow the right thing at the right time and it's seasoned the right way, the bugs really stay away from it. But here we try to push it. Sometimes we grow things out of season because of where we are. Sometimes we pay the price, sometimes we get away with it. But that's it. I just wanted to bring you back and let you see exactly what we were doing there and why we were doing it, adding the bone meal to this fruiting tree. I don't need to add any blood meal at this point because there's going to be enough stuff in that soil right there. And in about a week, I'm going to come back and hit everything that was up potted with that goat juice. I know you've heard me talk about that goat juice over and over and over again. And yeah, it's just that good. That 511 fish emotion. All right. Thank you. That's it for now.